Welcome back, everyone. This is Robert, continuing to go through Spider-Man's data file in the Marvel Heroic role-playing game. We've gone through the affiliation section, the distinctions section, and now we're ready to take a die from our first power set. Remember that most heroes have one power set, some have two. And then there are a very few that may have even more than that. But let's start with Spider-Man's first power set. Well, as we all know, Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider. So his first power set is called Spider Powers. And you can see a number of different dice types here. Enhanced Senses at D8, Superhuman Reflexes D10, Wall Crawling at a D6, Enhanced Stamina at a D8, Superhuman Strength at D10. Well, what do each of these mean? Well, within the book, you'll see some information on each of the different powers and abilities. Here is a rundown of some of the senses. Let's zero in on Enhanced Senses at a D8. This is at Spider-Man's level. This represents extraordinary levels of awareness, closer to those of predatory animals. So having the spider sense, we now also see that Spider-Man has superhuman reflexes at D10. Right there. This indicates that he has 10 times the response time and coordination of an ordinary human. So definitely superhuman reflexes for Spider-Man. Spider-Man also has enhanced stamina at a D8. This indicates faster than normal healing and recovery, resistance to minor diseases, and the ability to perform at maximum effort for an hour or more. Spider-Man's strength was rated at the superhuman level at D10. This would allow him to lift and possibly even throw vehicles, smash through stone and metal, and tear apart most barriers. Spider-Man's wall crawling would probably fall under the category of a movement power, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But his wall crawling is rated at a D6. So that's a basic rundown of the different powers that he has and the different die types associated with it. Each level of die type has an explanation in print there as far as what kind of abilities, limits that your character has. Let's take a look now at SFX. These are special effects that can be used along with these powers. This is where some of the powers really start to shine. Let's take a look at the first one. It's called Spider Sense. You spend one plot point to add enhanced senses. So let's say you've already chose something else, maybe superhuman reflexes. But you can spend a plot point and add your enhanced senses die also, which is a D8. Now let's continue. Add enhanced senses and re-roll all dice on a reaction. Well, what's a reaction? A reaction is when you're rolling second. So perhaps the enemy is attacking you. You're trying to roll your reaction to that attack and see if you can beat their number. And if you can, that means that you have successfully avoided. And in some instances, you might be able to even counterattack. But you have to spend a plot point to add enhanced senses to the die roll. There's also something there in parentheses. You can see it there. or step up by +1 if already in your pool. If you've already chosen to use enhanced senses as part of your reaction roll at a D8, you can spend 1 plot point and boost enhanced senses by +1. What does +1 mean? Well, it doesn't mean a D9. It actually means you go up one step of die type. So the enhanced senses would change from a D8 and turn into a D10. So it would actually be useful at a higher level because his spider sense is really good at helping him defend himself. The next special effects that we see on the list is called Second Wind. And it says, before you make an action including a spider power's power, you may move your physical stress die to the doom pool and step up the spider power's power by +1 for this action. What is the doom pool? Well, in a lot of games, when you roll the die and are attempting your actions or your attack, you have some sort of target number. This could be like an armor class, or it could be a difficulty number that you need to roll when you're attempting a skill. In this game, the doom pool is rolled by the watcher, the game master. And the game master, as you might expect, is very often in control of the bad guys. So the more dice that the doom pool has, the tougher the opposition. So if he's starting out with just rolling a couple of dice, not too much of a problem. You'll probably be able to overcome those challenges. But as the threat starts to grow, and as the doom pool starts to grow, more and more dice are going to be rolled against you. And it gets harder and harder to overcome different challenges. So there is definitely a cost to using Second Wind. But let's talk about what the advantages are. Let's say you're Spider-Man and you've taken a D6 of physical stress. You maybe got a few bruises and a little fatigue. But you're about to try something important and you want to boost your strength from a D10 to a D12. So you decide to make use of the Second Wind special effects. So before you roll, you say, alright, I'm going to use my Second Wind. I'm going to give this D6 over to the watcher to include in the doom pool now. So the doom pool has just grown in size. However, as you're forming your pool to roll, your superhuman strength for this roll is going to be a D12 instead of the normal D10. But as soon as this action is over, whether it is successful or not, it goes back down to its normal D10. So the cost is actually pretty big. You're giving a die over to the doom pool that can be used against you again and again. But the payoff is that you kind of heal yourself from some physical stress, and you get to pump up one of your spider powers to the next die type. The next special effects is called Spider Tracer, and it says that you can spend 1 plot point or use an effect die to create a traced complication for a target. You may track that target anywhere until the complication is removed or enhanced senses is shut down. So, a couple of different ways to make this one work. Let's talk about a complication. What's a complication? Well, it's basically just something that it's not really causing you damage, but it's making things more difficult, or it's something in the story that is assisting you in some way against the opposition. So, for example, let's say Spider-Man is tying someone up with webbing from his web shooters, which we'll see in the next power set. He's not really doing physical damage to them. He's not trying to knock them out. He's just trying to restrain them, and that's considered a complication. So that's also represented by a die type, and then to be able to tear through the webbing and escape, you have to get rid of the complication. We'll talk more about that a little later. But a traced complication. Well, remember, this game is very story driven, and so you have to think about what it's doing within the story. Spider Tracer. It's one of those little devices that Spider-Man can slip onto someone when they don't notice, and you can do that for a plot point, and it happens. Or you can use one of your effect die from one of your action rolls to tack on this tracer, and you would do that instead of doing damage or something else. So instead of hitting the guy in the face for D6 damage, you might instead say, I'm going to use this as a spider tracer and give him a traced complication at D6. So the target is now, you're able to track the target anywhere until they realize that they're being tracked, and then they have to remove the complication. There's also something about enhanced senses being shut down, and we'll talk about that next when we talk about the limit. We finally finished with the special effects, but we next have a limit down here at the bottom. Some characters have several limits, but Spider-Man has one with this power set, and it's called Exhausted. The game language says, shut down any spider power's power to gain 1 plot point. You can recover, or you can use that power again by activating an opportunity. That means when the watcher rolls a 1, you can say, aha, I'm going to activate that, and I'm going to reactivate my power. Or you can get your power working again during a transition scene. So you can shut down a power to gain a plot point. It's not going to be working for you until you recover it, either by making use of a 1 rolled by the opposition, or you decide to say that you've recovered from whatever had you knocked down or weakened during a transition scene, something that happens between conflicts. So what's an example of exhausted? Well, it could be anything. It could be enhanced stamina. Let's say that you wanted to shut down enhanced stamina. Maybe something in the story has just really fatigued you. It could be a poison gas or whatever is going to fit with the story. You can voluntarily say, okay, I'm going to shut this power down, and I'm going to say to myself that I can't use it for a while. I'm weakened. And it's not that your stamina goes to 0, it just means that you can't use that die anymore. That can't be the die that you select to go into your die pool. So you shut down any spider power's power. So it's not all the powers, it's just 1. You shut it down, you get a plot point, and there are different ways to recover it later. Finishing up that first power set, there's a nice section in the book which talks about shutting down powers and how to recover them, either by activating opportunities or what you can do in a transition scene. And the artwork connected to that is this picture of Iron Man. Obviously he's having a hard time. He's got half of his suit ripped off his face, so perhaps some of his systems are temporarily shut down, and until he can either repair or perhaps reroute some of his circuitry, he's going to be a bit weakened. So that's how it's represented in the story.